Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new week and a brand new episode of Erongo Talk. Today, we join you from a beautiful and sunny Walvis Bay lagoon. Now, as usual, we bring you the latest news, the weather and tides, and then for our interview segment, the Africa Continental Trade Area Agreement aimed at boosting intra-Africa trade will bring numerous benefits to Namibia traders. Asher Nashikaku, who is the Deputy Director responsible for trade agreements in the Ministry of Trade, is going to tell us more about this. So, please stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
When it's all about the race, no turning back, too late. Got my bones about to break. Body's numb, can't feel the pain. But my soul still got the fire. Got my heart beating faster. No time to waste, 'cause
And now for our news. In our first story, 35 employees of Kratz Pty Limited, a subsidiary of Othava and List O&L Group, will receive a 6.5% increase on their basic salary effective 1 July 2022. The company and the Metal and Allied Namibian Workers Union signed a one-year substantive agreement which brought about the increase for the bargaining unit employees. Kratz Managing Director Eugene Lowe, in a statement, applauded the union for how negotiations were concluded. Now, he said, Kratz has not been safeguarded from the effects of COVID-19 over the past 2 years. However, we managed to continue operations by adapting to the new normal and remain determined to achieve our targets. I am proud of the way our employees have showed resilience and continue to do their utmost best, even when facing this global crisis. For this reason, we believed an increase was the right thing to do, he said. For our second story, First Rand Namibia's strategy to do what matters locally delivered normalized earnings of 1.8 billion Namibian dollars for the year ended 30 June 2022, exceeding by 6.7% the peak earnings of 2016. Economic profit increased over the year, and Namibian shareholders will receive nearly 40% of dividends amounting to 298 million Namibian dollars into local coffers. This is especially pleasing as local shareholders, including local pension funds as the group's largest local shareholding bloc, welcome support in continuing to ensure benefits to Namibians countrywide. So if you are a finance guru, head on over to our website, that's www.erongo.com.na, to read more on this. And finally, the Walvis Bay Municipal Council approved the alienation of Naraval Extensions 9, 10, 13 and 16 to the private sector to increase the volume and rate of the provision of service land in accordance with the Local Authorities Act. According to Councillor Richard Haupt, the chairperson of the Management Council, the delivery of service land is a key performance area for the municipality. The new strategic plan, that is from 2021 to 2026, cites this as strategic objective number 2, which is to provide sufficient land and infrastructure for housing at affordable prices to cater for the needs of a growing population. However, the process of land delivery is tedious and cumbersome one, and it is taking council very long to deliver on this objective. Council's efforts are not aided much by the tedious Public Procurement Act requirements in the appointment of various role players like land surveyors, design consultants, and finally infrastructure contractors. But you can always head on over to our website, that's www.erongo.com.na, that's www.erongo.com.na, to read more on this and so much more on what is happening here in our region. Please stay tuned for our interview.
Erongo Talk brings you community news in the Erongo region. Erongo Talk aims to reach coastal residents, keeping them updated on what's happening in their community. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 102.com, and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: Erongo, The Republican, Allgemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and Namibia Media Holdings. Erongo Talk focuses on community news, weather update, fishing report, helpful tips, as well as sport and entertainment. For news-related or advertising queries, contact Erongo Talk at synergy.com.na. Erongo Talk, our community, your news.
In Business 7, you get the latest news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The bi-weekly printed edition features informative graphics, articles, and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. We crunch the numbers that matter, decipher statistics that shape Namibian lives, discuss smart money, and explore the impact of global development locally. Money makes the world go round, so catch our printed edition in the Namibian Sun, Republican, Allgemeine Zeitung on a bi-weekly cycle.
NMH Ad 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact NMH1 at synergy.com.na. NMH Ad 1, your lunchtime news companion.
Currently, the agreement is now in force. There are actually just a number of outstanding issues that need to be finalized for trade to happen. As you know, currently I think the head of states are going to meet on the 26th of October, just then to adopt the offers of member states. That will then create a perfect opportunity for traders now to start trading. Now, as far as Namibia is concerned, we are actually ready. Our offer in terms of trade, in terms of the tariff offers, these are now goods. It's actually not finalized because we are actually negotiating within the framework of SADC. But we intend to finalize this before the head of state then meet to adopt the offer. That could be maybe early next month, or maybe at the end of this month. But we should also maybe inform you that at least we are only not negotiating trading goods. We are also then negotiating also trading services. Now our services offer as Namibia is finalized, and this one is expected then to be adopted by the head of state. What does this then mean? It means those who are trading in trading services, or rather who are trading in transportation, for example, tourism services, communication services, financial services, business services, you will then be able then to trade across the border. You can then take your businesses then to Tanzania, but you can also go to Nigeria. This particular market is now open. You can go to Ghana. You can actually go elsewhere. So we are actually ready. Well, the negotiation might have taken too long. Remember, these are 55 member states coming on one table to negotiate. You will then have an interest, and then you also have a defensive interest as well, because sometimes you do not want just to open your market as a whole. You should also be able then to protect some of your industry from competition. So these are a whole range of negotiation that is taking place. But to tell you the truth, I think this is a bigger market now. Africa should be able now to trade with each other. Remember, we had agreement with the EU. What does it mean? It only means that it is easier to trade with the EU because you have an agreement that actually intend to liberalize trade. But now we have taken too long for Africa to come up with an agreement so that it's easier for me to trade with any other African state. And now this is our time now to do just that. Business people, they really just want to know, when can I trade? When can I at least ensure that my goods and services is up there? These are interesting questions. One of the most important things that you should actually remember is that it's not that we don't trade. We actually trade in Africa. What we are now going to do is we are just going to reduce barriers to trade. And that means duties are going to be minimized. Then the most important, I think, problems that we are facing in Africa is actually the non-tariff barriers. So those are the questions that are coming up. Our tractors, drivers of trucks, what problems do they actually experience when they're actually exporting goods, even to DRC? Those are the questions that are coming up. And how does this agreement now entails to deal with these particular bottlenecks? Those are some of the questions that are actually coming up. That we are saying, yes, the agreement is good. It provides an important platform for Africa to trade with itself on a liberalized manner. But equally, some of the questions that are also coming up is, how are we going to receive our payments when trading across the border? We are saying this particular agreement is making it easier because we have what we call a pan-African payment and settlement system. What this means is you will be able to trade with your currency, local currency. You will be able to get your payments in the local currency as opposed to the foreign currency. That reduces cost as well. So those are some of the important ones. And one of the important questions also that are coming up is that now, how will I be able to know that my trader is a genuine trader? So this particular agreement also makes provision for all the exporters to be able to be registered. So if you want to export your goods and services, then you should be registered by NAMRA. The other question coming up is now, how will the business be able to know what are the duties that are applicable? We are saying yes, the FCFTA have then developed what we call a manual. This is a trade manual. This trade manual will then provide you with the information. But how can you access this manual? The ministry and NAMRA is distributing it, but you can also access it online. So those are some of the questions that we are actually dealing with and we are actually explaining to the business people. Yes. Remember, this is an agreement. An agreement provides certainty and predictability. It provides you with information to say, yes, my goods is supposed to access this particular market, and there should be no hindrances. That's what it's providing for. Issues like pandemic are issues that are coming up that we do not have control over. And obviously, when it happens again, obviously we should be able to see how this particular issue could be addressed. But it should not hamper trade. Remember, some of the trade should also happen online. For example, if you are a medical doctor, you want to give your services across the border, you don't necessarily have to travel. Sometimes you can actually meet with your patient and give these particular services through these online platforms. So this is actually the beauty. So we must not really look at border. You have to move all the time. Sometimes you can actually do business at home with somebody sitting in Tanzania. You just do not need to travel. You just have to be agreed. The goods can travel, the goods can go. The airline, for example, and you remain there. Yes.
The agreement entered into force officially last year, but the negotiations are still ongoing. So there are issues such as rules of origin. For you to be able to trade, you need to understand rules of origin, which we'll also highlight in our presentation as we go through. And it's very, very technical, so they are still ongoing. So until you have rules of origin agreed, you can't trade because you need to understand the rules. So that's the first one. And the fact that we also need to make it part of the law. So we have not yet as Namibia have signed that in terms of the law. So we still have to have that process where commercial businesses can now trade officially. So partially implemented, we say that it has entered into trading, and those countries that are more or less ready, they can start trading. We have not yet done meaningful trade because of the agreement is not 100% into law. We do have already our export focused products that we all know, especially in agriculture. We are already exporting our beef, we're exporting our grapes, we're exporting blueberries, high value crops. So the one opportunity is expansion of those into the African markets, right? To see how we can now push those that are already there. So it's expansion. The other one is really when we focus on the SME sector, we are seeing a lot of companies in the cosmetics that are already, as you heard from the lady, they are about to go to Ghana as an association, and because they have been developing themselves for 7 years, and 7 years ago we only had maybe about 10, less than 10 companies in the cosmetic. Today we have almost 30 and more, and these companies are ready. Last week we conducted standards training for them to understand the standards required for them to cross the border. We are also looking at horticulture in terms of value addition, or agriculture in terms of value addition. You know that for you to take benefit of agreement is particularly mainly in manufacturing. So how can we add value to a lot of our produce and get them into value added packaged and labeling issues that needs to move, and then probably lastly just to expand companies that are already trading domestically but also want to expand. And as you heard from the gentleman who is in mariculture, they are already trading and they want to see how they can get more diversified market on the continent.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best-in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. The show is aimed at property enthusiasts, real estate agents, buyers, sellers, financial institutions, and developers. My.NA Properties is broadcast on NTV, 1UP2 and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: the Republikein, Namibian Sun, Algemeine Zeitung, and Namibia Media Holdings. My.NA Properties focuses on property content and interviews, interior design tips and tricks, DIY shack, and more. For property-related news and advertising, contact my.na at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Erongo Talk, but you can always head on over to our website. That's www.erongo.com.na, www.erongo.com.na. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram, or you can get in contact with us at 0811 7040 on both WhatsApp and on Telegram. That's 0811 7040. That is also your go-to number if you want to advertise with us, 0811 7040. So let us know who you'd like to see on Erongo Talk or where you would like to see Erongo Talk. That's 0811 7040. Also let us know what is happening in your town by emailing us at newstips@erongo.com.na. That's newstips@erongo.com.na. You can also find our variety of online programs. That's at 1up2.com. That's 1up2.com. Or find us on television. That is Network Television TV channel. That is on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 94. So until next time, please take care of yourselves and of each other. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.